Good day guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So in today's video, I will be teaching you on data types in Python programming language. Now, what are data types? There are different ways in which you can describe a data type, but I would prefer to say data type is a variable. If you don't know what a variable is, you can watch my video on Introduction to Python programming language. I described what a variable is there and how to create a variable. That's by the way. Now, back to data types. Data type is like a variable that is used to store discrete types of data. Like, it doesn't accept any other type of data apart from that form of data which you are storing in it. A data type can also be an attribute associated with a piece of data that tells the computer system how to interpret its values. Now, in Python programming, we have majorly three types of data types, which are integers, floats, and strings. I'm going to pick them one by one. We start with integers. What are integers? Integers are whole numbers. Numbers are not fractions. Numbers are not decimal. Integers are a set of counting numbers, either positive or negative. Zero also is an integer. Take note, zero is an integer. And integers are numbers that can be written without a fractional component. Now, how do you know a number is an integer in Python? We create a variable. Let's say we created our variable num1. You have to print the print keyword in front of it so as to be able to print the type or data type that it is to the console. Because this one is just taking the type of data type, is not printing it to the console. So this print keyword, the good one that we print it to the console. Now let's run the code and see. And you see, it's telling us class int, meaning this 20 here that is being stored inside this variable belongs to the class of integers. Meaning this is an integer, right? Alright, so that's all about integers. That's how you check the type of data type that you're working with, if it's an integer. Now you move on to float. Floating point numbers. What are floats? Floats are numbers with decimal places, meaning fractions. Decimal numbers like 0.5, 2.005. It can also be either negative or positive. Floating numbers can also be minus 200, minus 1 million, minus point. Remember, there should be a decimal there. So when you do a calculation that results in a fraction, e.g. like 4 divided by 3, the result will always be a floating number. It will always be a decimal. So that's what we call floating numbers. That's what we call float in Python programming language. Now, how do you create a floating number? Remember, you store your data in a variable. A variable is a container that is being used to store data. You store data in a variable. Now you want to store a floating number inside this variable. Each floating number you store, okay, let's say you want to store 21.6. It's going to be our floating number, right? Alright, so now you want to check the type of data. You don't know if this is an integer or is a float. So now you want to check the type of data that is being stored inside this variable num_2. Now, how do you do it? First, using the type keyword inside the bracket, input the name of the variable which is storing the data. Now you print the type to the console like this. Looks like there's an error here. Yes, this. Now you print this to the console. And you see, it has displayed in the console class float, meaning that this 21.6 belongs to the class of data type floating numbers. That's how you check the type of data type. Let's try for negative. Let's say in this our third variable, which is num_3, we're going to put minus 21.6 inside. So now let's print the type to the console. Print type num_3. Let's check if the negative also be floating numbers. Can you see? It also belongs to a float number. That means either negative decimal or positive decimal is always going to be a float number. That's what we call float. Any number that is decimal. Now moving on to the third type of data type, which is string. In my first video, which is introduction to Python programming language, I told you that string is anything that is in between double quotes. The same thing applies there. A string is just a string of characters. It should be surrounded by double quotes. As I said earlier, anything in between two double quotes is a string. It can be either integer or floating numbers. So far is in between two double quotes, it's going to be a string. So now let's try that out. Let's say now we want to store string, right? Okay, let's say string 1 equals to, okay, it must always be in between two double quotes. Remember, this is a double quote, this is another double quote, in between two double quotes. Okay, now string can be anything that is in between double quotes. It can be integers, it can be float numbers, anything. So far it's in between two double quotes, it's going to be recognized as a string. Now let's first put character. Let me put welcome. Now I want to check the type of data type that this string 1 is. Now remember, using your print keyword, you print the type of data type to the console. After print, you use the type keyword also to get the type of keyword that it is. Then your string 1. Now let's print this to the console and see what it's going to give us. Can you see? You print class string, meaning that this variable string 1 that is storing and holding this welcome is a string. Now let's check if an integer or a floating number is being put in between double quotes. What will it give us? Let me say string 2 equals to, now I'm going to use an integer, right? Alright, now let me print this to the console. Print type string 2, and it said it's a string, meaning anything, no matter what it is, right, is in between these two double quotes, it is a string. So this is how you basically write your string. This is your string, this is your floating number, this is how to create a variable for your floating number, this is how to create a variable for your integer. This is an integer, this is also an integer here. This is an integer here. This is an integer here. This is a positive floating number, this is a negative floating number, and this is a string. This is also a string here. Now in Python, there is what we call string concatenation. What is string concatenation? It is a process whereby you add two different types of strings together using the addition symbol. Adding two different types of strings together using the addition symbol. Okay, now let's take for instance in our string 1, we have welcome. Let me comment this one out. You have welcome in your string 1, and in your string 2 you have a name. Let's say welcome Jerry, which is my name. You have a string 2 here, so let me comment this out too. So I think I'm print error for us. If you are wondering how to comment or the keyboard shortcut to comment, still check my other video, which is introduction to Python programming language. I told them how to comment there. So now you have these two strings. Now string concatenation, you can create a string 3. String 3, which is going to store both string 1 and string 2. And how do you do that? You write string 1 plus string 2. This is what we call string concatenation, adding one string to another. Now let's print this string 3 out and let's see what it will give us. Now we want to print this string 3 to the console. then you printed welcome Jerry, but now you see that there's a board there. How everything is all jam packed together. Why is it like that? Because it's going to add this and this together, everything that is in between these two double quotes. Now it's just going to continue, it's not going to put the space by itself, it's not smart on its own. So now what are you going to do to neglect that? You can either put a space here or you put space here. So now if you are going to run this code again, you see that you display it correctly, then see welcome Jerry. And that's what you know about string concatenation, adding one string to another using this addition sign. And now there's another way whereby you can do this, which is in your print keyword. Now okay, let's say for instance you printed, I told you anything between two double quotes is a string, so in our print is also a string. Okay, let's say we want to print still the same welcome Jerry. Well, now you can use string concatenation here too. You look at this code, there's going to be a bug, which is this space here. This will run the same thing as this. Let me show you. Let me prove it to you. And this will run the same thing. Now let's run this code. You are going to expect two outputs, right? Welcome Jerry. Obviously, it's the same thing. So you can just simplify, instead of you storing it in two different variables, just writing it like this, which is welcome Jerry. And that's all about string concatenation, adding one string to another. Now there's what we call escaping a string in Python. Okay, let's say for instance you are told to print something like this to the console. I'm in love with food. Yes, I love food. Okay, you are told to print I'm in love with food with double quote like this in it to the console. How do you do that? Okay, if you just type, let's copy this one you want to print to the console, right? Alright. Okay, now this one you want to print to the console. I'm in love with food like this, right? Okay, now let's run the code. Can you see? It's telling us an error, invalid syntax. Perhaps you forgot a comma. No, it's not like you forgot a comma, but is this string there? I told you anything in between two string is in between two double quotes is a string, right? Alright. This is the first double quote. This is another double quote. This is another double quote. This is another double quote. Alright. So this and this is the one. So it's first of all going to take this as a string. Then now, this is not working for this. This double quote here is not going to work for this. No. Now, this is another double quote. This is another double quote. That means it's going to take this as another. Now, here's food. Food is just lying there aimlessly. And now, if you want to print something to the console, it is going to be a string. Anything that I want to print to the console using the print keyword must always be in between the double quotes. Now, how do you do that? How do you now print this double quote to the console? You can print it using the escaping a string. And how do you escape a string? Using the backward slash like this. Put the backward slash in front of the double quote you want to print to the console. Now if you escape this string, you can see that even the color of our food has changed back to the normal color. And now if you run this, you see that it's going to print I'm in love with food with the double quote on top. And that's all about escaping a string. You want to escape a string, you want to escape a double quote, use the backward slash. Now there's another aspect of Python I would love to teach you, which is the F string. In my other video, which is Introduction to Python Programming Language, I taught them how to format a string using the F string. Now, what's F string? F string allows you to be able to print a variable and a string to the console at the same time using just one keyword of print, one statement of line, one line of code. You get? Okay, now let's say you created a variable storing an integer. It's not integers that allows you to print to any type of data type. So far it's not a string, it allows you to print it to the console. Maybe is an integer or a floating number. Now okay, you created a variable storing 23, which is an integer, right? Normally to print all these things for newbies, okay, you now go ahead and print, you want to print the variable, print it like this. You have to print a variable to the console normally. If you run this, you see 23 obviously. But what if you want to print something like the number is 23. How do you now do that? The number is 23, you don't want to print, right? Okay, now for you to be able to do that, you put your double quote because there's going to be a string, and the string is what the number is, right? The number is. Now if you run this code, num is already right, which is the name of a variable. If you run it, do you think it will display 23? No, display the number is num. Remember I said earlier on that anything that is in between two double quotes is going to be treated as a string. Now you have num here. This num is going to be treated as a string, and you're going to print to the console directly like that. Now what can you do for you to recognize this num as a variable? That's where the f string comes in. You now come to the beginning of the double quote and put f like this, and you now come to your variable name and put it inside curly brackets like this. Now putting f at the beginning of your double quote and putting the name of your variable inside curly brackets. Run the code and see what it will display. And the number is 23. That's basically all what f string is. It allows you to print to the console both string and variable. Variable in particular, variables. Yes, variables allows you to print to the console both strings and variable. Now moving to the last aspect of this video that I'll be taking you today, which is converting data types. Converting data types. Okay, let's say you have a variable that is storing an integer, and you want to convert it to a float number. Now how do you do that? You can create another variable and say float1 equals to float bracket num. Now you want to convert this num variable to a floating number, right? Just create another variable, put float outside, then inside brackets you put the name of the variable that is storing your integer. Now if you print float1 to the console, what is going to be displayed? Let's print float1, and it displayed 23.0. But now for you to be sure that num1 is an integer and float1 is a floating number, you can just basically come down and print type num1, and you do the same thing for float. Print type float1. Now let's run these three codes. Print, it's 23 that we initialized our variable num to be. Now let's run this code. Can you see? We have our 23.0 that is being converted to a floating number. I converted this num, this 23, to a floating number, and you put a decimal point and another 0 at the back to a floating number. Now you check the type that num is. It told us that num belongs to the class integer. Now what does our variable float1 belongs to? It belongs to the class floating numbers. You can see. So that's how to convert data types from one form to another. You can only do it for maybe it's floating number that you want to convert. So you just come here and say int. To convert it to an integer, you say int. You want to convert this 23 to an integer. Now let's run the code again so it will display. Can you see display 23 now? It has now told us that our num initially that was an integer, but because we've added decimal there and put a value at the back, is now a floating number. And the converted version, which is float1, you can just change the name of this variable now to integer or something. Now belongs to the class integer. If you're following so far and you got some out of the video, you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're new, and comment in the comment section. Thank you for watching.